community. We've reached out to the open source community groups in the East. We've reached out to various groups worldwide. In fact, we're a regular face at OSCON, all right, in Portland. We're regularly there talking about the open source developments and our interoperability and how we're engaging and cooperating, collaborating with the open source community. And with that, we've invested millions of dollars in terms of building interoperability labs and open source labs at our campus in Redmond. And so if you have specific projects, if you have specific cycles that you're going through, we'd encourage you to see how we can open up these sorts of this dialogue to build these sorts of labs locally as well. We have our Microsoft Innovation Center, which is based out of Yamama College, just in the northern part of Riyadh. And we have a ton of hardware that's available there. And once again, we encourage us to go ahead and cooperate and work together. I'm not going to say that we're not going to compete. Absolutely, we're going to compete. And we're going to find the various vendors are going to be competing. All right, much like SUSE and Red Hat compete, I guess Microsoft and Red Hat are going to compete. OpenOffice and Microsoft Office are going to compete. But we're going to compete on fair ground, but we're also going to cooperate to make sure that we're really giving that customer the best possible value proposition and the best possible solution that they could be looking for. We also want to help encourage developers to write code. And we want to invest time and effort and energy in terms of developing developers and getting them to develop those solutions. So with that, we provide a set of tools for the developers as well. So CodePlex today is our online repository where we can actually go ahead and write open source development projects. And the great thing about this is that this integrates into our development tools as well. So you can do managed code within CodePlex through your Visual Studio and our set of development tools. So we have over 10,000 projects that are running on CodePlex. We have something like over 3 million regular viewers every single month to the CodePlex site. Two pieces of great news is that we have 2 licenses, open source licenses, that have been ratified by the open source community. The Microsoft Public License and the Microsoft Reciprocal License. So these are open source licenses. And so we have the Microsoft Public License that's listed in the top 10 open source licenses today, according to Black Duck. So I think that clearly shows our investment and energy and time that we've put into kind of making sure that we're wanting to work with the open source community. From a stack perspective, I think let me just very quickly, final 2 slides, talk through the stack. Yes, we know that we're going to always have a Microsoft stack of products. And so we're going to have our messaging products, we're going to have our database, we're going to have our ERP applications. But equally to that, we're going to have vendors that are building solutions on top of that. And that could be third-party vendors, and how they develop their products are also up to them. And then finally, when we kind of look at the open source community, well, we got some really strong development solutions such as Sugar CRM for the open source CRM solution, MySQL, which is a great database solution. When we think about Apache from a web perspective, on web serving and web content, right? It runs on Windows, and JBoss and PHP from a development language perspective, all right, enabling developers to be able to write code and open source code as well. So from a platform perspective, we're cross vendors. We're not saying we're going only proprietary or we're only going open source. We're giving customers that flexibility and choice once again. And so a couple of resources that you may or may not be aware of: Port 25 for TechNet, your TechNet resources. Codeplex.com. I urge you to, if you have particular projects, go ahead and have a look. Do a search on existing projects that are operational there. Microsoft.com/open source. Great resource to understand what it is that we're doing and how we're outreaching and how we're extending, call it that olive branch. All right, we're not here to stifle. Once again, we're here to embrace. And so Microsoft.com/open source. I also urge you that at the time of OSCON, when that comes around, if any of you are attending OSCON, we'd love to be able to reach out with you and meet up with you there, or also connect you with some of our corporate executives that attend OSCON and give you the ability to engage and ask those tough questions. And then finally, from an interoperability perspective, what are we doing to kind of really help the development of the platform and ensure that customers get that best possible experience across all solutions. And so I thank you for not throwing anything at me from the start.